In the days after the great flood, all people spoke one language and lived together in unity. A vast, ancient city with people working together, speaking the same language, surrounded by lush green lands and rivers, under a bright blue sky. They settled in a plain in the land of Shinar and decided to build a great city with a tower reaching the heavens. People gathered, pointing at the sky, discussing grand plans to build an enormous tower. The sun shines brightly over the land of Shinar. "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly," they said, and they used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Workers crafting bricks from clay, drying them in the sun, and stacking them in neat piles, while others mixed tar for mortar. The people began their grand project, working tirelessly day and night. Builders stacking bricks, scaffolding going up, people carrying heavy materials with determination. The tower grew taller and taller, reaching toward the heavens. A massive tower under construction, its base wide and strong, while the top disappears into the clouds. Pride filled their hearts as they marveled at their achievement. A group of people standing with arms crossed, admiring the towering structure, feeling invincible. But they built this tower not to honor God, but to make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered across the earth. A leader proudly addressing the crowd, pointing at the tower, while some look uncertain about the purpose. The Lord looked down and saw what the people were doing. A view from the sky, looking down at the growing city and tower, with God observing from above in divine light. He saw their pride and how they relied on their own strength instead of seeking Him. A glowing figure in the heavens, arms crossed, watching the people building the tower with arrogance. If they have begun to do this, nothing will be impossible for them. The Lord said. Celestial beings gathered around, discussing the actions of the people with a worried expression. "Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." Divine light descending from the sky towards the city, preparing to disrupt the people's work. Confusion and chaos. Suddenly, as the people worked, they could no longer understand each other. Workers at the tower looking puzzled, gesturing wildly, speaking different languages. "Pass me a brick," one man said, but the other only shook his head, confused. Two workers struggling to communicate, one holding a brick while the other looks frustrated. Misunderstandings led to arguments, and soon chaos spread across the city. People shouting at each other in confusion, tools dropped, construction halting. The builders could no longer work together, and their grand project came to a halt. The half-finished tower standing tall, but the construction site abandoned and in disarray. The once unified people were now divided by language, unable to cooperate. Groups of people splitting apart, each speaking a different language, moving away from the tower. They scattered across the earth, just as God had intended. Families packing their belongings, leaving in different directions, spreading across distant lands. The tower is abandoned. The great tower, once a symbol of pride, was left unfinished and forgotten. Crumbling tower, abandoned, with vines creeping up its walls as the city empties. The place was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. An ancient scribe carving the word Babel into stone, the tower in the background, and from there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. A world map animation showing people spreading to different lands and forming new communities. Moral and conclusion. The story of Babel teaches us that pride and self-glory lead to confusion and separation. A wise elder teaching children under a tree, explaining the lesson of Babel.